what I'm hoping to do is on your August meeting have a pretty comprehensive report on all of the things and get your direction on a couple of things. One of the areas that we've talked about and that I want to get your input on is what groups should or should not be allowed to have, say, concession booths there. And what I'm saying is, should this be all basically a nonprofit type situation where, say, the Little League or the folks that do nonprofit stuff have the opportunity to have booths there, or should it be open to where you have food vendors of all sorts, Famous Days or anybody else there? And again, it becomes a logistic problem, and just want to get your input. My feeling was it's a county, function, and the prime goal of this is to dedicate a park and not to be a profit venture for independent businesses, and that's not in a negative way. It's just it complicates things.
Let the nonprofits in for free, and anybody else gets
a giant donation for
donations accepted.
Well, that's one of the issues.
One of the things that I might suggest, Jurg, and it's fresh in our mind because we just finished Freedom Fest, is the chambers are very versed in that issue about nonprofits versus for-profit, booths at that event, and they could give you some outstanding, they could give staff some outstanding information on the pros and cons and how they address it and what they do. It would be the best source that I can think of.
Well, we'll get hold of Kathy, but that's been one of our things to try to figure out is the other situation, of course, we are limited in space, so there's going to be this decision that has to be made at some point in time, just how many quote-unquote vendors you're going to be able to have anyway. And right now, it looks like, with the exception of one parking lot, everything's pretty much taken up.
And that's what they do is they limit it to nonprofits. They have limited space, and they sell so many, and when they reach that point, that way there's an urgency factor built in there. And then you have the other issue with nonprofits. There's the issue of insurability as far as you've got that issue, depending on what they're doing. And a nonprofit has the mechanism already in place for them to name as additionally insured, whereas a for-profit organization, if they're large, they can do that. But it's costly too. So that kind of drives that towards the nonprofit side of the page. I know that's what they've done in the past for many years. Yeah, and she would refer you to Olivia Kearns, who was actually their lead person. She and a representative from Brawley. They're the two that kind of year after year, under the auspice of the Imperial Valley Joint Chambers, they're the ones that lead that. They'd be a real wealth of information and probably, be able to lead us right down the right path.
Okay, thank you. The other issue we've talked about is entertainment, and staff has talked to a couple, 2 or 3 bands, and originally it started out that all of the bands wanted to get paid for making performances, and I think we've negotiated down to we'll pay for their costs, in other words, fuel and whatever it takes to get to there, but no flat fee. And I think that's appropriate. I had a little hard time trying to have some people get paid and other people put on presentations without getting paid. So staff went back to them and they kind of said, well, if you'll at least pay our expenses, the direct costs, then we'll perform. So I think we may have that resolved. And I think they've talked to you about some other issues, systems.
Sound systems and advertising and that kind of thing. We talked about it and used, Freedom Fest as kind of a parallel to use. And that's good. I figured they might be able, after they spoke to the people in the entertainment, where they're going to have more than one, because once you set the precedence for one, then it's one for all, and that becomes a real Pandora's box.
So anyway, that's, kind of real quick. Like I said, we're hoping to have everything kind of wrapped up by your August meeting to really focus on not just layout and schedules and agenda and the whole thing. Just a quick note, we're getting closer every day. Sometimes it looks awfully slow, but we're getting closer to finishing it. We're refilling the lake as we speak, and it should be by the end of next week. should be back to being full. We were gonna start filling the swimming lagoon this week, and we decided that since Larry was still gonna have one more game, we didn't wanna make it an attractive nuisance, so we're not gonna fill it. Although it might be a nuisance right now, just being a big old hole there, but,
Were you worried about Larry swimming in there?
well, I'm afraid he might get thrown in there if he lost his next game or something, yeah. But anyway, so we're planning, I think Larry said that as of tomorrow, it'll be the last game, Thursday, I think he said.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Depends on what happens tonight.
Okay. Anyway, as soon as they are done, then we'll dismantle the field and we'll start filling the swimming lagoon probably as early as Monday. I think I mentioned to you, we had a little bit of a problem with the swimming lagoon because it ended up being a lot sandier than we had been told. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this with the old style of let's try it and see what happens, and if we have to drain it and line it, then we'll do it. But for right now, we're just gonna fill it and see what happens. See how much seepage we get. We think we're gonna be okay because the weight and the sand strata are about the same. And it's not a matter of washing out the bank. That's not the problem, it's just how much water we're going to lose. So we're just, the engineers took a look at it and they said, well, rather than go through this expense, here's a design that'll work, but it's going to be fairly expensive, but let's just fill it and just take a look at it and see. Everything else is ready to go, it's just a matter of not filling it until the leak is pretty much out of there. So start doing that. But the rest of it, we're hoping to hydro seed, I think in 2 weeks, they said. Grass.
Boy, that'd grow good.
Well, they better know what they're doing, because that's what they're paid for, so we are putting off any of the other planting until the fall. We decided we're not going to try to plant any of the trees or shrubs right now. It'd be too much risk for losing them with this kind of heat, so we'll put that off. But the rest of it should be pretty much getting wrapped up.
That hydro seeding should work really well here, though, because it was less than 60 days from last year's Freedom Fest when they had all that new construction at the college, and they hydro-seeded the center area where the track and field area is. Man, that grass grew. You could almost stand there and watch it grow with the humidity and sunshine this time of year, and so it worked out real well. So it should do well.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. So unless you have any questions, that's kind of an update.
How much more water are you going to have? How much more depth
On
on the lake?
the lake's just going to come back up to its regular level. We're filling it back up because I finished all the seawall area there and the sidewall. We have to basically wait. We were going to fill it earlier, but then the way they were doing the sidewalks, it ended up being easier because they were able to actually walk on the downside or on the lake side and do the form work rather than trying to do forms from the top. So we left it down. It didn't hurt anything. We haven't had any fish kills that was a big expectation. I think we've found one dead fish so far, and I won't attribute that to our construction, but if it was, that's not a big deal. Other than that, it's been actually very smooth, especially.
That's really good.
So we're hoping, like I said, by the end of next week, that we'll back up to full level.
I know you told us before, what's the date for the grand opening?
October 11th.
Any other comments or questions for Yuri before we move on? Okay. Next item is the discussion update direction regarding the Sunbeam Lake Park entry gate contest.
Well, as you can see, we didn't get a huge amount of responses. Basically, we got, I think, 3. And then, I don't know, did we include yours? We didn't?
He couldn't color inside the lines.
I think we figured it was a no.
Yeah, it's probably the last one,
Isn't that
the
yours?
black bank.
That's not yours?
No, the blank is black.
Actually,
It's called Use Your Imagination.
he did send me a series of photographs on an entry, an entry type feature at one of the water feature at one of your projects, I think it was, or somebody's project, I don't know if it was yours or not.
Did it make the top?
It didn't make the top 3.
Make the top
No,
20.
that was my fault. I don't think we got it into it.